Welcome. My name is Dr. George Sparks, and we got an exciting program for you today. This is another episode of Biblical Archaeology from the Ground Down, sponsored by Bible Interact. History's first sentence, that's right, history's first sentence, using the alphabet has just been discovered on an ancient comb. Now, note, I know what you're thinking. What is this archaeologist talking about? What is he doing with the comb? Anyway, fair question. However, the Daphne Gazette of the Israel Antiquity Authority stated that the ivory comb dates to around 1,700 years BCE. For archaeologists, that's the Middle Bronze Age. If we want to be more specific, it is the Hyksos period. And it has an inscription which we call Proto-Canaanite, the Proto-Canaanite language that offers instructions on how to remove of all things hair lice. This would be history's first full sentence using the alphabet that was just discovered on an ancient comb. Now, in 2016, archaeologists were excavating at a Tel site. This was called Tel Lachish in Israel, and it was unearthed this 3,700-year-old broken ivory comb from an ancient trash pile. Now, I said it's ancient trash pile. That means it's discarded in antiquities. That means as it's being excavated, the artifact was still found, what we call in situ, the place of its origin, meaning that, all importantly, it is provenanced. Now, those that have stayed current in archaeology, especially Near Eastern archaeology, are probably thinking, oh, not another cursed tablet, with an inscription, not another unprovenanced artifact, not at all. Not at all. This is the real deal, folks. Something that we've been waiting for, and here it is. But it has been in the shadow because the limelight has been first. It was on the Darius inscription. Unfortunately, it was found out not to be authentic, not that somebody was willfully trying to deceive. It was actually a professor's assignment. She was teaching students that were actively participating in an excavation. And she was writing on a potsherd what it would look like during the time of Darius. All right. And once the class was over, she just discarded the shard, and later on it was found. Okay. Once she called into the IAA, it was announced that it was a mistake, honest, open mistake. Then we had the lead curse tablet, and we waited for a year for the peer review. And in the peer review journal, unfortunately, it has been rather disappointing. But moving on, that's the reason why it's been in the shadow, if you will. So the find was set aside. That means it was actually found in 2016, but it was set aside for years. But researchers recently took a second look and made a surprising discovery. They realized that the comb actually bore an inscription thought to be the first full sentence using what we call the Proto-Canaanite inscription ever found. The earliest alphabet. It's also called Proto-Sinaitic in some instances, and there's a reason for that. So it's not Proto-alphabet Hebrew. Remember, it's 1,700 Hyksos period BC. So it's Proto-Canaanite. Also, they might say Proto-Sinaitic, and there's a reason. We'll explain that in a minute. According to a study, the tome was published in the Jerusalem Journal of Archaeology. That's important. The right journal for the right artifact. This is falling into really good situations for us. The extraordinary find, containing a rather short message written in ancient language, once again of the Canaanite. It simply reads, "May this tusk root out lice from the hair and the beard." That's what it says. Now, though the inscription may be simple, it is historically really making an implication, which is profound. It represents that the oldest known sentence in the early alphabet, but also is stating that we have a device that was used, made of ivory. And what is ivory doing in Canaan? And it also says that ivory what? It's an ivory husk. This is the first sentence ever found in the Canaanite language in Israel. States Joseph Garfinkel. So it's Dr. Joseph Garfinkel at the Hebrew University who helped oversee, discover, probably even maybe help translation of the comb. The comb inscription is direct evidence for the use of the alphabet, once again, in daily activity 3,700 years ago, 1,700 years BC, added to our 2000 AD, 3,700 years ago. This is a landmark in the history of the human development of writing. The proto-alphabet was first discovered in 1906 by Sir Flinders Petrie in a turquoise mine in the Sinai Desert. That's why we might call it Proto-Sinaitic, of where it was first discovered. All right. But in general, like, well, who wrote it? Who used this alphabet? In general, the Canaanites. So we say Proto-Canaanite. The comb itself was 1.5 inches by 1 inch, and it was made. Now, remember what it said? Tusk, a tusk, but not just any tusk, an elephant's tusk. Though its teeth are broken, the comb once contained 6 teeth on one side to untangle the hair, and 14 teeth, really fine teeth, meant to remove the lice on the other side of the comb. According to the press release about the comb, it apparently did its job. Researchers even found tiny bits and remains of lice on a 3,700-year comb. An inscription found in situ, and it even had lice on it. That means it could probably be DNA'd as well. Dr. Garfinkel stated that the comb was probably made in Egypt. Why? Remember I said, let's remember this. What's a tusk doing in Canaan? Because there were no elephants in Canaan 3,000 years ago. And then it was brought in the present day Israel, what we call present day Israel, where it was inscribed with this anti-lice message. In other words, what he's saying is they had elephant tusk in Egypt. Now, many people don't think this, but actually, Egypt is in northern Africa. So, of course, they had elephants, all right, but not in Canaan. So the tusk, being an elephant tusk made in Egypt, was probably sold in the trade route to somebody wealthy in the land of Canaan, and then it was inscribed with the proto-alphabet, Proto-Canaanite alphabet. Man, this is really sounding good now. The Times of Israel additionally reported it appears that the comb's inscription carefully etched out 17 Canaanite letters, that means letters in the alphabet, which made up 7 words that made the letters smaller and smaller as they were running out of space. It sounds like that's the same way I write a letter. You know, I start off big, and as I get to the end of the letter, I kind of like try to squeeze things in. So I think we can all understand that one. The fact that the inscription is about ordinary life is essential, he says, and is also fascinating, according to Dr. Christopher Rolston of George Washington University, who actually, here we go, peer-reviewed the recent and studied the comb and explains to the Time of Israel, remember I said peer-reviewed, isn't that important? Throughout human history that lice has been a problem. And this inscription nicely reveals that even the rich and famous in ancient times, as well as modern times, are not exempt from such problems. Dr. Rolston actually continues his statement because, you know, whether you're rich, whether you're poor, we all get sick. And back then, lice was a problem. It continues, Dr. Rolston, the world's first writing system originated in Mesopotamia. That would be the cuneiform, the wedge shape, and also in Egypt, that's hieroglyph, around 3,200 years BCE, which for us is 5,200 years ago. However, they were not alphabetic. Remember, instead, they used symbols to represent words and syllables. The first alphabet merged around 1800 BCE, according to the find by Sir Flinders Petrie. When people familiar with ancient Egypt recognized the hieroglyphs, and also from those hundreds of symbols of hieroglyphs, they slowly out a few, maybe that they could easily remember and were symbolic to them for pronunciations, developed the early alphabet, which we call Canaanite, the Canaanite language. In other words, they're using ancient hieroglyphs from the Egyptians to develop the alphabet. 10 Canaanite inscriptions have been found in Tel Lachish. Now, where was the comb found? It was found in an ancient trash debris pile at Tel Lachish. So what they're saying, there's 10 other Canaanite inscriptions that were also found, which are more than anywhere else in Israel. But the comb is very significant because it has that anti-lice message. And that makes up the complete sentence in this ancient language. So many times they're trying to tell us this is why it's important. We have the first alphabet, but the first alphabet being used in a sentence. Dr. Rolston told the Times of Israel that the trash heap where the comb was discarded has offered up a number of other exciting finds. Also, combs from, not combs, but the Bronze Age inscription comb actually joins a chorus of important inscriptions from this crucial ancient site, Tel Lachish's mound, debris mound. All right. He's saying has supplied us with a number of different inscriptions. Inscriptions have been dated to not just, you could say, the Bronze Age, but also from the Iron Age, and have been written in various different languages and scripts. That's pretty exciting. That means I think they're actually plugging the excavation at Tel Lachish. You know, how many people want to go and how many people want to dig through this ancient trash pile? Maybe you will be the next one to find an ancient inscription. All right. And that would be absolutely marvelous. My name is Dr. George Sparks, and we have a real ancient inscription. Thank you for your time.